Welcome, everybody, to the Single and Stiletto Show. I'm Suzanne Oshima, and I'm a matchmaker and dating coach at Dream Bachelor and Bachelorette, and I'm also the founder of Single and Stilettos. Today, we have on our show Nicole Morin. She's a love coach at loveworksmethod.com, and I'm so excited to have her here today because today we're talking about, are you repelling the right man away? But before we jump into this, Nicole, I would love for you to tell our audience a little bit about you and how you became a love coach.
Sure. Hi, everyone. So I became a love coach not because I was perfect in love, but because I was so imperfect in love. I was so insecure. I felt like I was successful in other areas of my life. And then love life, I felt like a crazy person. I was like, what is happening here? How am I spinning out? And it was just such a struggle for me, honestly. And I became fed up with the struggle. And I said, I'm going to figure this love thing out. And I devoted myself to figuring out how to make love work. And I figured out that love is a skill. Just like anything else, if you know how to do love in the right way, you are going to get the result that you want.
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so tell us, because I think this happens a lot and more often than women think it does, but how can a woman tell if she's repelling the right man away?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can look at your reality and see if you don't have good men in your world, you are repelling them, because there are good men out there. There's so many good men out there, and some women attract those men. So if you're not attracting those men, the first thing you want to do is just get honest with the fact that it's not the universe. It's not, it's you. And that might hurt at first, but then it really puts you in a position of power because then you can shift it. So if you don't have good men, even just if you're not seeing any good men in your reality, then you are absolutely doing something to block that out from yourself.
That's true. And I have to give a perfect example of this because I hear this a lot. A woman will say to me, I don't know what it is. I keep attracting men that are cheaters. Or she'll say, I attract men that don't want a relationship. They have commitment issues. And they always think that the common denominator is the men themselves. But I always point out the common denominator is actually not the men themselves. It's actually you. So if you're keep attracting the same type of man, you need to look inward and figure out what it is that you're doing that you're attracting these type of men.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So true.
So what's another sign that a woman's repelling the right man away?
So if you're afraid in your love life in any way, then you're repelling the right man and you're attracting the wrong man. So here's what I really believe this. I don't believe there's any wrong men. Okay. There's no bad men. The man who can't commit, what's happening there? He is afraid of commitment. The man who is cheating is insecure or something's happening and he's afraid, right? So the common denominator, whenever anybody does something bad, the only reason they ever do it is because they're afraid, right? That's the real truth. And so if you are approaching your love life from the perspective of, I'm afraid to get hurt, or I have to keep myself guarded, or I can't trust men, if you know that that's in your system, then guess what? You're going to just attract those kind of men. And you're going to get the unavailable man or the man who cheats over and over again because you're a match for that kind of man. So you want to really get honest with yourself. Like when I think about my love life, am I open? Am I positive? Do I expect good things to happen? Or do I just expect that it's going to be the same, I'm going to be hurt, and bad things are going to happen? If you're in that second mindset, you're repelling the good men because you're not a vibrational match for those men. You're a magnet, I'm sorry to say, but you're a magnet for the men who are in fear. And the men who are in fear, those are the ones that will hurt you.
What would you say to a woman that says to you, I've had a lot of women say to me, I keep going out on bad dates with bad men. It's not so much that they're cheaters or anything else. They're like, that's not what I'm looking for. And then they start to get down because they keep going on dates with men they are so not interested in. What would you say to them?
So I would say that you need to shift your mindset around this because we get what we focus on. And so if you keep seeing a lot of bad men, then there's something in your mindset that needs to be shifted. So what I recommend to my clients is every single date that you go out on a man with, even if he's not your guy, or even if there's something you don't like, find one thing to appreciate about that man, because then you're in the energy of appreciation, and then you get more and more and more and better men. So I did this. Even, when I was on Tinder and a guy right away would say, whatever, want to hook up, I would think in my mind, thank you for being honest about your intentions on the upfront, so you can move out of my reality quicker and I can get to my man quicker. So if you start looking at every guy in your reality as not bad or wrong, and find one thing at least that's positive about him, you are starting a chain of positivity and appreciation, and that's then going to start bringing you in more men that you really appreciate and you really love. So it's never the men. It's always you.
Yeah, and Nicole, I really like that you said that, and looking at the one positive thing, because I always say that too. If the guy tells you up front that he just wants sex, thank him, because it's like, thank you for not wasting my time, because now I know that that's all you want and that's not for me, so I'm going to move on. The other thing that I see a lot of women get really upset about is when a man disappears after 3 or 4 dates or whatever it is, and they get really upset. And again, like you said, I always tell my clients to look at it in a positive way. He showed his true colors. If he disappeared without a trace and didn't say anything like, you know what, I think you're great, but we're not a match. If he didn't do that and he just led you on, you should be glad, because again, he eliminated himself, and you didn't waste 3 or 4 or even 10 months on this guy. That he eliminated himself early and he showed his true colors. So yeah. I think that's important.
It is. And you know what? There's a temporary disappointment when that happens. Of course, you're excited about a guy. But I think we suffer when we take it personally, and when we think like, oh, it was me, or was I wrong? And the truth is, if that guy is disappearing without a trace, then that's how he operates in his life. It's not personal. He'll probably do that to another girl that he's dating. So I think if you can just separate from like, how could he do this to me, and it's so wrong, and he's so bad, and just that's how this man operates at the moment, and that's just not a match for what I want. But no, all this negative energy, then you're free to have more positive experiences actually flow into your reality.
That is very true. So let me ask you a question, though, because I see this a lot, and I want to get your opinion on it. What would you say about the woman that just won't settle? She has these high standards. She's looking for a guy, and she has all these things on her checklist. And it's almost like no one can meet the type of man that she's looking for. What would you tell her? Do you think she's being too picky?
Okay, so I've had this before. And what I say is, you know what? If you really are going to hold on to that list, hold on to it. But then don't expect that every guy that comes your way meets your mat. Like, if you're going to be that picky, then you have to know that 99.999% of men aren't going to meet that. So don't get pissed when you go out on a date and he's not your man, So, because some clients really don't want to let go of that list, and I just let them know that's fine. But then you've got to know what you're up against if you have that list. But in general, I don't recommend having this whole long list of how a guy should have to be perfect to show up. Ladies, you are not perfect. You are not perfect. You need to hear me on this. And men are not perfect. And any man that you're looking out there and you're thinking he's so perfect, like all of my entrepreneur friends are right now obsessed with Lewis Howes, and they're like, oh my God, I want to be with a guy like Lewis. And I think he's great, but I'm sure if you were in a relationship with him, there would be things that you liked and things that you didn't like. And so I think as women, we need to get rid of this idea that there's this perfect person out there, and once we meet this perfect person, every single thing is going to be perfect. What you want to look at is, it truly is, how does this man make me feel? Do I feel safe? Do I feel cherished? Do I feel adored? Do I have fun with him? Is this someone I can hang with for a really, really long time? Not, is he perfect in every single way that I think he needs to be for me to be happy? You need a good connection to be happy, ladies. At the end of the day, you need a good connection to be happy. So I say, look for that.
perfect way to end this interview because I think that is so true. Well, these have been some great tips. So, Nicole, tell our audience how they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me at loveworksmethod.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on the Single and Stiletto Show. Our show is available both in video format and podcast format. If you would like to view the videos, you can go to singleandstilettos.com. If you'd like to get the podcast, you can download it from iTunes. If you'd like to get our free ebook on the 3 secrets guaranteed to attract any man, you can click here on the video, or you can go to singleandstilettos.com.